Aloha, and mahalo for joining us today. I'm Osa Tui, President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. Welcome to our Unretirement Party, a celebration on the last day of summer because most public and charter school classroom teachers return to work tomorrow to prepare for the new school year that starts next week. Some of the teachers you're about to hear from had planned to retire this year, but instead, they will head back to schools tomorrow. That's because this year, state lawmakers and the governor approved extra funding to ensure that teachers are properly compensated for their years of service. Over the years, when the state was low on funds, veteran teachers were denied even small pay hikes, so thousands of them are stuck in the middle of the salary scale. We call that salary compression. Their pay has remained low as more recently hired teachers received regular raises. So, the legislature approved and Governor Ige signed into law a state budget that included more than $130 million to fix salary compression. That means nearly 9,000 educators will see their salaries increase anywhere from $7,000 to $26,000 in the weeks and months ahead. We are so grateful to the legislative leaders for making sure that this happened after their original plans to fix salary compression were scuttled 2.5 years ago when the pandemic struck. Mahalo to our state Senate leaders, especially Senate Ways and Means Chair Donovan De La Cruz and Senate Education Chair Michelle Kidani. And in the State House, we had two champions who made sure this funding got through, and you'll hear from them shortly. They are House Speaker Scott Saiki and House Finance Chair Sylvia Luke. Educators and the keiki they serve owe them a big mahalo. The funds they approved for these teacher pay increases have caused experienced educators who are at retirement age to put off retirement and continue teaching, and those who plan to retire in the next few years now plan to keep teaching longer. I'd like to introduce a few of those teachers now. First, let's hear from Melissa Padilla, who's an English and art history teacher at Campbell High School on Oahu. Melissa was supposed to retire this year, but she's heading back to campus to continue teaching. Melissa? Oh, if you can just unmute yourself.
Thank you. There we go. Aloha, everyone. My name is Melissa Padilla. I teach at James Campbell High School, and I'll be teaching 10th grade English, AP English Language and Composition, AP Art History, and AP Seminar. I'm also a National Board Certified Teacher. I participate in our AP program. I'm also a mentor teacher working with West Oahu Secondary Education Program. I plan to retire in 2022 after 30 years of service. These past 2.5 years have been very difficult, and seeing that this might be the end sounded like a good idea. But I changed my plans to retire because the compression pay was finally addressed and my years of service will now be reflected in my salary. In addition, I really love teaching. And this year I have an opportunity to teach interesting subjects and introduce students to another way of using their English language skills in different subject areas such as art history and seminar. One of my worries about retiring is who will be the next teacher to step into my place, or if our students will have a qualified educator in the classroom. Now, veteran teachers like me will have our salaries uncompressed, and we can look around to be mentors for incoming teachers or training teachers on our campuses because we need teachers. And how else are we going to get new teachers if we aren't there to help mentor them? When I was a much younger teacher, it was the veterans on campus who looked out for us. So I feel obligated to pay it forward for the incoming teachers. And our keiki need qualified teachers in the classroom. I'm very thankful to be here today, and I would like to acknowledge all of the HST members and our supporters who answered the call for testimonials for more than 2 years now. I especially want to thank our leadership with Corey and Osa, Logan, and everybody else who advocated for years for this, especially our lawmakers who you'll be hearing from today, and for Governor Ige for signing the bill. I am so thankful. And this year, because I am not retired, I'm so looking forward to teaching my students face-to-face and growing the AP program at my school and being another person out there to help the future educators who are going to join our public schools. And I'm so thankful for being here today. Thank you, everybody, for hearing my story.
Thank you, Melissa. We are so glad to not be losing you this year. And I'm sure your students in Campbell High School is equally grateful as well. Mahalo for that. Next up, we have another veteran Oahu educator who could have retired this year, but is delaying retirement because of the salary compression fix. Terry Holck works supporting the DOE's distance education program, something that became so important during the pandemic. She also works on professional development for teachers to integrate technology into their teaching. Terry?
Hi, my name is Terry Holck, and I'm a state resource teacher for the digital design team in the Office of Curriculum and Instructional Design. I work with complex areas and schools to provide professional development in the area of technology integration, and I also help support the state distance learning program. This year makes 31 years that I've been teaching with the DOE. And in addition to this work, I teach a professional development course in which teachers learn to use block programming to code an Altino robotic car. I'm also a commissioner for the State Public Charter School Commission, which authorizes high-quality public charter schools throughout our state. And I'm very excited to be on the planning committee for Nanakuli Elementary School's Future Innovation Center. Once my husband decided to retire, friends and coworkers started asking me if I would also be retiring. I did think about it, and when we met with our financial planner, he said I could retire at this point. However, the compression fix made it really enticing to remain in the profession for a few reasons. First, it would mean I've finally reached the top of the salary schedule, something I did not think would happen in my career. Secondly, this would increase my state retirement pay, which is based on my highest 3 years of earning. So this will delay my retirement plans for at least another 3 to 5 years. When you work as a teacher at the state level, you're more removed from the students in the classroom. However, the help and support my team provides schools in complex areas help to leverage technology to increase student engagement, agency, and achievement. And as for the state distance learning program, I've enjoyed teaching students at the elementary level for weeks at a time when I've been asked to sub in. And I'm with the new computer science requirement, requiring every school to offer computer science within the next few years. My Altino course supports that initiative as well. I would like to take this time to thank the HSTA officers, the lobbying team, the Deputy and Executive Director for HSTA for their hard work in making this compression fix happen. I know it's taken years, so mahalo for your determination and grit. Thank you also to House Speaker Saiki and House Finance Chair Luke, as well as all the other legislators who brought this to fruition for our teachers. Thank you for honoring the work of teachers by making things right and putting teachers where they should be on the salary schedule. Although I'm looking forward to the day when I actually do retire, I can say that I'm excited to continue to work with teachers and students this coming school year, as well as help make Nanakuli Elementary School's Innovation Center a reality. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Terry. And as we have seen through the pandemic, technology is so important. And so the fact that we're not losing you is so important that our keiki will be able to benefit from your experience and expertise. So mahalo to you. Our next teacher is Mike Hino from Molokai Middle School, where he teaches social studies. He actually filed his retirement paperwork as last school year came to a close. But when he heard that funding to solve salary compression had passed, he had to cancel his retirement. Mike?
Aloha. Yes, my name is Mike Hino. I teach at Molokai Middle School, Social Studies, 8th grade. This is my 25th year with the DOE. You know, at Molokai is a small school, so many of the teachers were all involved in the different initiatives that are taking place in the schools. So I've participated in the positive behavioral interventions and supports initiative, full inclusion initiatives, the instructional leadership team initiatives, and response to intervention, which is, like how we respond to students with that have behavioral or emotional issues. And I also participated in the development of the C3 framework, which is the inquiry approach to history or social studies. I did plan, it was mentioned that I did plan to retire in June of 2022. My paperwork was all in, and I think it was at the beginning of May when we found out that the compression had passed. So at that point, because my last day was May 31st, I had to hurry and send in all the paperwork to take back the retirement request. So I had to call the insurance, the health insurance, the EUTF guys. I had to call the Maui retirement office and have them take back my retirement request. The only thing that I didn't get to do yet is I didn't get to take back the HSTA retirement teacher. So I'm a member of the HSTA Retired Teachers Association. So I don't know how that's gonna work. But anyway, I changed my plans to retire because correcting compression for me, it sent the message that experience does matter and that it's valued. And with the increase of initiatives that our schools are facing, because we are dealing with the total well-being of students, it takes a lot of different things to do that. So having teachers that have a sense of how to balance all these initiatives in and out of the classrooms, I think does make a difference. So that's one of the reasons why I changed my mind. I believe that, as far as how my staying will benefit the students, I've been told that I have a different approach to teaching and management in the classroom. For instance, I'm offering the students 4 different courses this year so that as a class, they can pick and choose which subject they want to study. It's kind of like what they will do in college and in at the high school. I also I help the students develop personal academic plans, kind of like a personalized IEP for each student in the class with goals and plans of actions for both short and long-term goals. I also use an individualized grading scale. So each student's A is not at 90%. It depends on their abilities. So every student can get an A, and this helps with motivation. Getting the student to do the work because they know that they can get an A. And the other thing that I do is when it comes to behavior, I try to negotiate compliance. So I usually sit down with the student and we have a conversation and we negotiate how to get them to comply with positive behaviors so that in the end they choose to behave instead of being forced to behave. So I think that these are the ways that the students will benefit or have benefit and will continue to benefit from me by staying in the classroom. I would like to thank all the people that have been mentioned already. You know, the legislature, the governor, of course, our union, for doing this. Like it was mentioned before, I didn't think that it would happen in my career, that I would hit the top. You know, I'm gonna move 5 steps. That's a lot. I'm moving up 5 steps. That tells you where I was in comparison to where I should have been. And I would also like to thank ahead of time the Department of Education, who I am hopeful and confident will negotiate in good faith a fair and expedient, in a fair and expedient fashion, the details of this correction. What I look forward to in the next few years, instead of retirement, I'm hoping that this one-time correction will become permanent for all my colleagues, for young and seasoned teachers. Students benefit from teachers who are open to the expertise and that self-reflection brings to teachers. So I hope that, you know, that in the long run, this will move on to all teachers, because there are some that are not going to benefit from this. And it would be good if we all did. Thank you.
Mahalo, Mike. You can see from Mike that if he were to have retired, there was so much experience, and he, you know, things that he's learned in his years of teaching on ways to get to the students and make the students want to learn and motivated to learn, and to replace that with probably a long-term substitute would be just a disservice for those students. And I'll say that when I was on the Molokai High and Middle campus, Mike saw me from across the way and made a beeline. He had to come tell me, you know, I didn't think that this would ever happen. And should it happen, I'm going to stick around. And so thank you, Mike, for that. Our final teacher we'd like to hear from today is Ashley Olson, who is the English Learners Department Chair and Coordinator at Lahainaluna High School on the island of Maui. She represents so many teachers who could retire in a year or two, but are now planning to keep teaching longer. Ashley. And Ashley, if you can just unmute yourself.
One would think that after so many months of distance learning, that would just be automatic, but clearly it's not. So thank you, Osa. Thank you for the introduction and the reminder. Again, my name is Ashley Olson, and I was hired to teach Spanish and French at Lahainaluna High School on Maui years ago. I am currently working with our English language learners. I'm an inclusion teacher, and I also keep our school in compliance with all the documentation and reports that are required at the state and federal levels. I will be eligible to retire on April Fool's Day of 2024. So this past school year, I really started to back away from some of the extra things I do to help with that transition. I'm no longer the National Honor Society advisor, and I'm no longer the school community council chair. The upside of that meant that this year I could serve as a resource to those who are taking over those roles. And it also meant that I had extra time. So I was able to serve on the Maui County Charter Commission, and I've been able to focus more on my aging parents who live in the Seattle area. A lot of people just look at salary compression as only affecting placement on the salary schedule, but it really goes a lot deeper than that. For thousands of teachers who should have made it to the top salary several years ago, salary compression has had a negative effect on our lifetime Social Security earnings, as well as our state retirement. And it's a lot more than just that current paycheck that takes the hit. So now I have the opportunity to improve my state pension. And it means that students at Lahainaluna High School are not going to lose my institutional knowledge, my love of the school community, my experience, and my expertise for a little while longer. And I think it really bodes well for a stabilization of the teaching force among those who are maybe not quite as close to retirement as I am. A few months ago, I testified at a House Finance Committee hearing. I hadn't planned to speak, but in that moment, it really felt like Representative Luke and the others were especially attentive that day. So I really want to thank Ms. Luke, because in all honesty, in giving testimony in other times, I've never felt that understood. I felt validated on that day. And now knowing that compression is being addressed, I am incredibly grateful to Ms. Luke and to Speaker Saiki, as well as my district representatives, Roz Baker and Angus McKelvey. And I think it's also really important to mention Governor Ige for signing off on the budget. So many gubernatorial candidates have run on a platform of supporting Hawaii public education, but I feel like he's the first governor in decades who actually did support Hawaii public education once he was in office. In the years ahead, I look forward to helping our fabulous athletic director at Lahainaluna. I look forward to unofficially assisting the new National Honor Society advisor and supporting the school community council from the sidelines, but overall continuing to support the Lahainaluna community, including working to ensure that we have a highly qualified, stable workforce in our schools, because that's what our students need and deserve. And without the leadership of HSTA, the members who provided testimony, and our legislators who put this through, it wouldn't be happening. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ashley. And it was when Ashley was testifying at the House Finance Committee meeting where this whole idea of an unretirement party came about. And so I'm so glad that we're actually able to come through on that. And you know what? I've heard so many teachers tell me, you know, we've tried time and time again to do something and it only fails, it only fails. And you know, I'm not always the most optimistic of people, but I told people to keep the faith. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And you know what? It came through finally, once and for all. Thank you so much to our legislators. So especially so I want to please welcome to this event this afternoon, State House Speaker Scott Saiki. He's been a strong supporter of public education and was one of the first leaders to speak out clearly and strongly against furloughs and pay cuts for teachers during the pandemic. We're so grateful that he shepherded this important legislation through the House to keep more experienced teachers teaching. So Mr. Speaker, turn it over to you.
Hey, Osa, and to HSTA, thank you very much for inviting me today. This is great to be here. I want to thank Melissa, Terry, Mike, and Ashley for your sharing your experiences with us today. I think it was very important for all of us to hear that. So thank you very much for doing that. You know, I have to say that, you know, legislators, you know, visit their schools every year on different occasions. And I have to say that, you know, whenever I've gone to visit a school in my community, I have always been struck and impressed by the work of the teachers. Because I know that there are a lot of other people who work at the schools, but I've always felt that it's really the teachers who are kind of like the glue at the schools. They keep everything together. You know, I mean, I've been to events where the teachers are not only working with the students, but they're, you know, moving the cafeteria tables around, they're setting things up, they're doing the administrative work to make the event or the program happen. And so we know that teachers are doing so much more than just teaching, and you know, we appreciate that. I'm really thankful to Chair Luke and to Chair Justin Woodson as well for taking the lead on this compression issue in the House during the past year. I think it was about time for the legislature to stand up and to address this issue, because it was focused on correcting or promoting fairness and also promoting experience in our schools. The bottom line is that students, our children, will benefit from our correction of this of compression. So I want to thank you very much for having me here today. And thank you to all of the teachers who are unretiring this year. Thank you for making our schools work. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, Speaker Saiki. Yes, this ultimately this will benefit the students greatly. So mahalo for everything you folks have done. Every single legislator, mahalo to everything you've done. And of course, Governor Ige for signing this into law. So finally, let's hear from House Finance Chair Sylvia Luke. She benefited from Hawaii public school teachers as a little girl who spoke no English after she immigrated to Hawaii. And now she's worked hard to ensure that experienced teachers are compensated properly so more of them can stay in the profession. And yes, she worked super hard behind the scenes. We're in constant communication. Thank you so much, Chair Luke, and the floor is yours.
Mahalo Osa, and mahalo to all the hardworking teachers at HSTA. In true form, somebody just started weeding outside. Isn't that how it works, especially when we are doing a good virtual meeting and then somebody, the neighbor, yard people are weeding. But you know, one of the things that I wanted to make clear is I was born in South Korea, came here when I was 9 years old, and there was a teacher at Kaumanu, my homeroom teacher, a fifth grade teacher, who said, I'm not gonna send you to an ESL class. I'm gonna have you sit with me every day and I'm gonna take my time and teach you English. And she did that every day after school on her own time. That's what's special about teachers. Teachers were willing to not just teach their assigned classroom, they're willing to do extra things. Like for instance, what Miss Ashley was saying, National Honor Society, robotics, the extra help that you provide. It's really about all the extra stuff that you folks do above and beyond. You know, this year I'm so thankful that we had the opportunity to provide the fix for this long-standing compression issue. And one of the things that we have always said is, okay, if we have the means to do it, we're gonna do it. Well, this year we had the means to do it, and wouldn't it be tragic if we didn't do it? So we made sure that the money went in, not just for this year, but for every year. So we didn't make it just a one-time funding, but a recurring funding. You know, if you think of in your own lives, anyone who went to public school here or went to school here, every person will point to that one special teacher who made a difference in their lives. You know, for me, in addition to my fifth grade teacher who taught me English, in middle school, it was Mr. Obata who made me love science. You know, um, uh, Mr. Andrade, who was my PE teacher, who scared me so much, but made me shape up. And it was in my high school, it was that Mrs. Figuera, who was my student activities coordinator, who helped me get this love for public service. Every person can point to that one special teacher who has shaped the person's lives. Compression relief, it's not just about money, it's about respect. And it's about the state saying, we respect you and we respect and value what you have done. If we don't provide relief and if we don't honor those individuals who have given 25 years of their lives, 30 years of their lives, and in Laverne's situation, many, many more years of their lives dedicating for the betterment of kids, if we don't prevent teachers from retiring, students will suffer. Students like me who couldn't speak English, students like others who needed that extra help. Many latchkey kids turn to teachers to be their mother and father and guardian. And we hear stories about these year after year. You know, what was so telling this year was that we made a commitment early on that we're going to make this happen this year. And as Ms. Olsen said, we had a finance committee hearing, and many teachers came to testify to provide their personal experiences. And what was very moving was Ms. Olsen said, hey, you know what? I love teaching. I could have done other things that would have paid me more, but I sacrificed that because I want to make a difference in kids' lives. And Miss Olsen said, if this doesn't happen, I'm gonna retire. And one of the things I committed to Miss Olsen was, okay, if that's the case, let's make this the bill that we have to make sure that it's an unretirement party. So I'm so glad that I'm part of this unretirement party. Let's keep it going just so that we keep, we make this happen, and we will continue to work with the Department of Education, the Board of Education, to make sure that we respect and value all the work that you have done. So mahalo on behalf of myself, Speaker Saiki, Senator Dela Cruz, Senator Kidani, Senate President Kochi, our Education Chair Justin Whitson, and many of the other legislators who helped pass this law, and also to the governor. Thank you for everything that you do for our keiki. It's unfortunate that it has taken this long, because I've already heard from several teachers who said, okay, we can't wait any longer. They're gonna retire anyway. We're hoping that this message gets out, and we ask you to stay put, because kids are gonna need you. We need your experience. We need you in the classroom. Every year we have so many vacant positions. We need you there. And the future is depending on you to continue your service, but mahalo from all of us.
Mahalo, Chair Luke. Yes, teachers absolutely help latchkey kids. I grew up in public housing, and it was Mr. Mizuta, who was the math team coach, who allowed me to explore my love of math and my desire to then become a math teacher, to someday maybe be like Mr. Mizuta. So we have so many teachers who, they just stay 1 or 2 more years. They'll affect so many thousands upon thousands of teachers in our state. So thank you for that. And thank you, Chair Luke, for being so attentive to detail. It's so great to have someone who is detail-oriented as a leader in our state, and we continue to need detail-oriented leaders going forward. So with that, we'd like to open things up for questions from reporters. And so reporters, again, if you'd like to ask a question, please put your name and organization in the chat, and then unmute yourself when I call on you. And so first we have from the Star Advertiser, Esme Infante.
Hi there. Thank you, by the way, to all the teachers for sharing your stories. They were very enlightening. I've been covering the salary compression issue for a while, so it was really good to hear from some of the teachers who are affected by it. I have a question that I'm not sure if it's Osa or Chair Luke or Speaker Saiki who might be able to address this. I'm trying to quantify the impact of this. So I hear the philosophical effects of it. What is the status of our teacher shortage right now, and what kind of impact do you think this will have, like actual numbers of teachers, in terms of, how many teachers were supposed to retire this year, how many are actually not going to, how many are delaying their retirement plans, etc.?
So I'll just say that the Department of Education is the one that holds those cards, and as this year begins, they haven't revealed yet what those numbers are. Generally in October, they release what's called their employment report. And we see there, when we saw the employment report released last year, we saw that the year before the last year, there was a 33% jump in retirements because folks just didn't want to stick around. And so we're hoping that whatever the numbers are, as we go into this year, that the retirements will be much, much less. Because every teacher that we have to replace is, every teacher that retires is just another one that has to be replaced in the classroom. And right now, there are not enough students going into teaching. And so we hope that more of our seasoned educators will stick around and inspire more of our students here at home to go into the profession, because that's what's really important. Students who have roots here and will stay here, and not just leave when they discover how much milk costs or gas costs here, things like that.
As a follow-up question, do we know exactly when those salary adjustments will hit paychecks?
We're currently working with the department right now on that. We think that it may take a few weeks more because we believe that there may be Board of Education approval involved. And so we have to wait for one of their scheduled meetings in order for that to take place. But we are working on the details on how we're gonna make it happen. And then hopefully as soon as the Board of Education can approve those details, we'll get the money flowing. We are definitely looking to make sure that whatever salary, whenever it happens, it's reflective of the first working day for our teachers. So many of our teachers are starting tomorrow. So to start from tomorrow going forward. And some of our, what we call multi-track or 12-month teachers who started on July 1st, will make it retroactive to them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ismi. Any other reporters wish to ask any questions of myself or our legislators or one of our teachers? And so we have from the Maui News, Dakota Grossman. Dakota?
Hi, thank you for the time. I just had a quick question. I know the fixed salary compression benefits experienced teachers, but I was wondering how experience is defined, or like what the qualifications are and who will be impacted.
So it's basically years of service in a public school as a teacher. And even for teachers who are finishing their second year of service, for example, have just finished their second year of service, we were regularly bargaining contracts that were giving a step increase to teachers every 2 years. And so some of the teachers who finished their second year last year didn't get anything. So we're including them as well in the count. All right. Okay, Esme, go ahead. Back to you, Esme.
Oh, sorry. There you go. Okay, just wanted to get my audio back on. Yeah, sorry, just a follow-up question. So I just wondered, for the teachers who spoke, can you elaborate a little bit more on which classes and steps you were in and how much of an impact the decompression, as it were, what kind of impact that had on your salary?
Thank you, Esme, for that question. I'm in my 30th year of teaching. However, I'm not at the highest level of our profession. I was frozen in place for almost 10 years. So there are people, if I didn't get my national board certification when I did, I would be behind people who have less years of experience. So in order for me to have any type of bonus situation, I got my national board certification in 2009. And then I renewed it for another 10 years to maintain that bonus situation for my national board. I have relatives who are also teachers, and they're not that far away from me, and I have more years of experience. So I know that I speak for those who are at the higher end of years of service. It's finally what we were told back in the day, that eventually when we strike, if we strike, you're helping the teachers who are coming up behind you. I'm staying here because I know we have so many vacancies now, and it's only going to get worse if people like me retire now. After going through the pandemic for the past 2 years, it's even harder to convince people to stay in the profession. There's so many things that are moving and shifting, and this compression, just making it fair for people with years of service, to give them that reason, like, we respect you, we see you, we are finally recognizing you have something to share with the incoming teachers. That's the part that's valuable for keeping teachers in place and not saying, okay, forget it, nobody's going to ever recognize me ever, I'm going to get out of here. So thank you for letting me speak.
Ashley, you want to add to that? Go ahead.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Ashley again. So when this hiring cohort that you're seeing right now started, we started on step 1 of the salary schedule. And for me, I think it took 10 or 12 years to get to step 5. Now, because HSTA worked to address that, at least, a brand new teacher is going to start at step 5, which is great. And somebody that comes in with some experience from another state is going to start at step 6. Again, that's awesome. Our salary schedule goes to 14B. I've got, 28 years, and I am at step 13. By contrast, our HSTA State Secretary Treasurer, Lisa Morrison, who, by the way, is awesome. She has, I think, 10 years fewer in the state of Hawaii as a teacher. And I believe she's maybe step 11. I'm not positive on that, but it's the idea that experience and stick-to-itiveness is not recognized or honored has been a problem. And so decompression is really addressing that. And I think that it's going to mean for a lot of teachers that maybe they can give up their third job or their second job, depending on what they're earning right now. And most teachers being who they are, that means that that extra time is just going to get poured back into their kids, their students' kids, I mean. Thanks.
Thanks. And just to delve a little deeper into the details, generally, if you're a state approved, if you've completed a state approved teacher education program, you will begin at step 5. If you're an emergency hire, you'll start at a step below step 5. And then you can progress 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then we go to 14A and then 14B. And most from one step to the next is 3%, except for the 14A to 14B is 6%. So just to give you some of those details, I think as Mike told you, he's going to step up 5 steps. And I think he's just like me, we're at step 11, maybe, Mike. And then with those with the extra compression being solved, and I think Mike also put it in a good way, the correction. So with the correction being involved, go ahead, Mike.
Yes, I'd like to add, prior to this, the main way that teachers could increase their pay was horizontally. We couldn't move vertically. So, and that meant that we'd have to take courses at college or PD credits. And of course, we have to pay for those things. So like for me, I moved horizontally prior to this 2 classes, but it costed $27,000. So, you know, I'm not going to see the benefit of that pay raise for a while. Yeah, because I have to pay for my the courses that I took. So that prior to this, that was the only way that teachers, the main way that teachers could increase their pay was horizontally.
Yes, thank you for that. So to clarify that part, you can wait for negotiated step increases, which are vertical movements on the pay scale. And then you can go ahead and continue to get your own professional development, which are horizontal movements on the pay scale to reclassify. And so teachers spend thousands of dollars in order to get credits to make themselves a better teacher for their students to move across classes. And one of the issues we had was that class 7, so it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Class 7 was the maximum classification for teachers. And so a lot of them now have said, well, you know, I have too many other things to do. I need to make more money. I don't have time to go get more professional development if I'm at class 7. And so about a third of our workforce in teaching is at class 7. And so another wonderful thing that the legislators did this year was to remove that cap of class 7. And so that's going to allow us to bargain with the state a more comprehensive, perhaps classification-based system where teachers can just continue. You want your teachers to continue to get professional development. And so ways to see if we can get away from the steps and move more towards classification is what we may be looking towards negotiating with the state for future contracts. So thank you for that. Terry, did you want to add anything before we move?
So going back to Esme's question, and going back to what Mike and Osa were talking about, I took classes, as many as I could from the very beginning of my profession, because I knew that was going to move me, right? I could make that happen myself. The going down the steps, that was beyond my control. And so, you know, although I've been in class 7 for over 10 years, I was never able to get to that final step. So I'm currently at a 14A. Again, like I said, 31 years, and I still did not reach the top of my salary schedule. So now that people like Osa, you know, people have been in the DOE for at least 22 years, they're going to be able to see that jump to where they actually belong and really honoring the work that they've been doing all these years and their experience. So I hope that helps answer your question, Esme.
Thank you very much, Terry. And yeah, we have so many people on our social media right now watching on Facebook or on YouTube that are in the same situation as our teachers here. Many of them saying that they're not going to retire now as a result of this. So thank you for that. We solved this, but there are still some issues that we have to resolve in the future, including how do we recognize years of service for teachers that have taught out of state or out of the DOE system? and make sure that we can attract the best teachers. If someone's got 20 years of service in another state, why wouldn't we want to make sure that we recognize those 20 years some people come here in Hawaii and they just take massive pay cuts in order to take this job. And so they leave. And so how do we make sure that we can recruit and retain high quality teachers? And so making sure this is not the end. There's so much more to go. And with that, I'll go to Hawaii Public Radio's Casey Marlowe. Casey.
Thanks. I guess this goes out to all the teachers. Ashley, you kind of alluded to this, but how does this impact your quality of life?
Well, when you're already giving blood, sweat, and tears to your students in the classroom and your colleagues and your school community, and then after work, you got to pick yourself up, take a shower, and go to another job. I mean, please explain to me how somebody finds a work-life balance there. It doesn't exist. I look at some of our newer teachers who they're servers. We have several teachers that work in the major hotels that have like kids camp things going on. That's not just the work energy, that's emotional energy that is taken away from our kids, our students. Sorry, I want to clarify, they're my kids, but I don't have kids. It's the lost sleep, it's the commute time, it's, dealing with everything that you deal with in a job that takes away from the energy of your life's passion, which is generally in the classroom and making sure that your students, your kids succeed. And so it's huge. And I feel like we're repeating that. It's like, it's such a big deal. It's such a big deal, but oh my gosh, it is such a big deal. And I hope that answered your question a little bit.
Anyone else want to talk about quality of life, how your quality of life is going to be affected? Michael.
Yes, as Ashley mentioned, stress level has dropped because I don't have to worry about, can I afford certain things? I don't have to, like pick and choose and sacrifice, certain things. Both are needed, but I would, I'm looking forward to not having to worry about that so much. And hopefully, that ease and stress will translate into the classroom, so that I can be more patient and tolerant and understanding and passionate again, as I once was when I was younger. Yeah, it definitely is going to better my quality of life.
Thank you. Melissa or Terry, you want to add anything? You're good? Go ahead, Terry.
Sorry. I think, in terms of like, we talk about our high 3, right? So definitely that will help benefit us when we retire, when we actually do retire in the next, maybe 5-10 years from now. But I think it also, for a lot of teachers, it might replace that need for that second job. And that's a huge benefit for the quality of life, to be able to say, okay, I can focus on my one main job of teaching and focus on my family and have time for them as well. A lot of times for teachers, there is never a teacher whose job starts at 7:45 and ends at 3. We're working 24/7, 365 days a year, even though you only get paid for 10 months. And so, a teacher's job is never done, and you wear so many different hats. So being able to have this compression fix and increase people's salaries can really help provide that quality of life and that balance, that work-life balance. So maybe now they can take a family trip. Maybe now teachers can have time to to set aside to spend with their loved ones versus going and, like Ashley said, taking a shower and running to the second job. So that's a few ways on how it's benefited teachers.
I will
And
add
just-
that for several years I worked at Starbucks, and my managers were amazing because I would literally have students coming in to ask for help on their homework because they knew that I was at work. They'd come in, they'd grab a Frappuccino and ask me questions about their homework, the lesson, the test coming up. And again, appreciation to those supervisors and managers for giving me that opportunity to work with those kids. But I'd really rather just have a study session at the food court instead of at my other job. Sorry, Melissa.
Thank you, Ashley. I just wanted to add that over the years, I have taken tutoring jobs. I did summer school. Those things take away from my family time. And although I don't have kids of my own, I do have nieces and nephews in other places in the country that I really would like to visit, but you have to manage if you own a home in Hawaii, you know how expensive it can be to pay your mortgage. And there have been times in my career as a teacher that I had to look at, okay, I can't do this because I don't have enough money to cover that. I need to find another job that the school could offer me. Stipend day, not substitute, summer school, tutoring after school, home tutor for a kid who has to have something because they can't be at school. So I have taken on those jobs. I don't know how to be a waiter, so therefore I could not go for that kind of a job. Things that I know how to do, I know how to teach, I know how to instruct. So those are the types of jobs I've done on the side throughout my 30 years as a teacher. And I am thankful I didn't have to find another permanent second job to supplement my income and having my own home in Hawaii. So with this comparison, as Mike said, it lifts some of that weight off of my shoulders. And when I do retire, not this year, further into the future, I won't feel so stressed about can I stay in Hawaii and live in Hawaii, because I don't want to be part of the brain drain of people moving away when I really want to stay here in my home. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll say some other things that I've heard, or, part of this is also investing in our communities, because this money is going to go right back into our communities. It's not paying some mainland corporation or things like that. It's paying our teachers who are here and are going to go out and go to restaurants and things like that. So it is really investing in our communities. And I will also say that a lot of the teachers who are affected by this are parents whose children are now reaching college going age. And I've heard people say, I'm going to be able to afford to send my daughter to college now. And that is such a huge relief. And things like that, just it opens up opportunities for our keiki that we are so grateful for. We heard from our teachers also talking about, having to pay for their own professional development. And so one of the things I just wanted to make a quick mention about is that this Wednesday and 2 nights from now, we partner with the Hawaii Foundation for Educators to raise funds so that teachers don't have to actually lose out on thousands of dollars to do their professional development. And so on Wednesday night, if you're on Oahu and can make it to the Hawaii Theater at 6 p.m., we have a benefit concert from Pure Heart and Makaha Sons. And so we invite the entire community to go to Hawaii Theater's website, buy some tickets, join us, and help teachers so that they don't have to pay so much for professional development. All right, I don't see any further questions in the chat, so we want to thank everyone so much for joining us. Please remember to vote. County clerks across the state have sent out the mail-in ballots to every registered voter in the state, so you should have received it by now. The primary election is on August 13th, but since the state now conducts its election entirely by mail, you can vote as soon as your ballot arrives in the mailbox. Your vote matters. And when you vote for HSTA recommended candidates, you are voting for strong supporters of public education. You can find the full list at hsta.org/primary22. Mahalo everyone for joining us today. Aloha, have a wonderful school year.